Oh. 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 Shanai Shanai Uparamit. Slowly, one should understand. Many of you have been part of discourse series entitled Gita in Daily Life. I myself have facilitated such jnana yajnas. What we're doing together as a community is Gita in daily life, literally. Almost 400 mornings with Gita and continuing. That's what Shanai is. To slowly, steadily, sincerely, strongly understand these teachings. Buddhya dhriti grihitaya. A strong equipment that causes us to be unsteady is the mind. And so the intellect, which is more powerful, has to hold the mind, has to direct the mind. And we were prompted towards this teaching right from chapter 1. In chapter 1, the symbolism of the icon of Bhagavad Gita. The paths are the sense objects. The horses are the sense organs. The reins are the mind. And who's holding the reins? The intellect holds the reins, which holds the horses, which holds the path. So the same is being shared here, less in a visualization, sharing this in a more experiential way. On Monday, I facilitated a workshop for young adults. And part of my sharing was, how do you make healthy decisions? And related to this, in our Thursday class, I was elaborating on Viveka. In the workshop, in the class, I shared what is healthy, what is to be a priority, should flow through depth and longevity. In terms of space or desha, depth. In terms of kala or time, longevity. When we reflect on what's the deepest, longest equipment we have, it is the intellect. Invest in this. This is our SQ, our spiritual quotient. Atma samstamana kritva. The intellect, with this ideal of infinity, is holding the mind, holding the whole inner world in the Atma. In the Atma. We have a anatma vasana. Our print makes us feel we are an equipment, but the more you hold these equipments in remembrance of, immersion in the spirit, our print will change to an Atma Vasana, where I will more naturally feel I am not an equipment, I am existence. Na kinchid api chintaye. Share with me in the chat, what does chinta mean typically in the world? Especially for our Hindi speakers. Yes. Chinta typically means worry. And that's what a lot of us do when we contemplate, correct? I worry that I'm not contemplating. I worry that contemplation is taking too long. When we drive, then Shuka and Vyasa keep asking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? We do the same in contemplation. Are we enlightened yet? Are we enlightened yet? And that's why in sentiments, in reference to the intellect I shared, do not identify with any externality. I am not a nationality. I am not a gender. Because if you identify with that, that's what you're going to think about. Be free of any sort of externality. We continue. Shri Krishna can sense our troubles. So now he's sharing some details on troubleshooting. Yes, we have that with our dishwashers and our cars. This is troubleshooting for our mind. Verse 26. Yato nischarati manaschanchalamastiram tatastato niyam yetad atmanyeva vasham nayet. Yataha. From that cause, from this cause, from whatever cause, what is this causing? Nishcharati. Nishcharati means distraction. And obviously this is in reference to I'm looking at the second quarter, manaha. But we are not just distracted, chanchalam, which means, I take that back, nishcharati is reactive, chanchalam is distracted. But even more deep than that, the problem is even deeper, is astiram, which means the mind is dull. Nishcharati, reactive. Chanchalam, distracted. Astiram, dull. This doesn't describe us, correct? Shri Krishna is describing someone else's mind historically. Yes, one of you was asking about Prince Arjuna. He's describing Prince Arjuna, not Vivek. Just holding this first line. If our mind is like this, it will be more powerful than the intellect, in which case we cannot contemplate. This line is really describing Prince Arjuna telling Shri Krishna what to do, not the other way around. Zooming in on this, on how we can make our mind otherwise, so that it does follow the intellect. So Prince Arjuna does listen to Shri Krishna in order. A reactive mind is to be trained to be a balanced mind. This is called Shuddha. Shuddha. How we can do this? Slow down. Those whose minds move in a speed that they cannot control, they're not conscious of, they're reactive, correct? You say something, I say something. Someone honks at me, I honk at you. But if you slow down, it's like there's more control, you're more conscious of the mind. One becomes responsive then, correct? slow down in your lifestyle. More beautifully, that's called simplify your lifestyle. Even to the extent when you're facilitating your contemplation space, your room, your space, should not be too bright nor too dark. When your room has too much light, that's also a sense object, correct? Even with my eyes closed, I still feel that sense object on my sense organ, so I'm activated. And if your room is too dark, you know what will happen. In terms of chanchalam, we're being distracted. The evolution of a distracted mind. The evolution of a distracted mind is to be a focused mind. And a way that we can practice having a focused mind is to unitask. What should one do? Unitask. Okay? Unitask. And I know we all know about this, but we don't practice this so much. So in our contentment challenge, and you will find this will be available to all in the middle of next week. Registration will start on Rama Jayanti. Part of your day, when you feel most depleted, that is when you should unitask. So in this challenge, this will be at 6 p.m. And when we think of unitasking, we typically think of, okay, I'm going to put a grape in my mouth and I'm just going to eat it very slowly. One has to practice unitasking in their dharma. In whatever you're doing at 6 p.m., you should be reminded, if you're driving, unitask. If you're washing, unitask. If you're talking, unitask. If you do this generally, it will be so natural when you contemplate for this to be done specifically. Are we together? Shuddha, that is a balanced mind. Ekagrata, that is a focused mind. And then astiram is a dull mind. And this has to be trained to become a reflective mind. Reflective. Those who reflect well, they practice well. They don't need someone else to tell them, don't do this, do this. That's what a child needs, correct? Vyasa, don't come into the room. But for someone who's an adult, they're reflecting on that this is a class. There should be quietude. Yes, they don't need to be told, don't do this, do this. How we can develop this reflective mind is journal. For all of us to write more, write your questions, write your reflections, journal. At the end of the day, what did you learn today? If you didn't learn anything, what was the point of that day then? This is called sukshmata. So our minds, they have troubles. Troubleshooting to make the mind shuddha, ekagrata, sukshmata, so that the intellect can hold it and direct it towards the spirit. And that's what Shri Krishna shares in the second line. Tataha, tataha, niyamya. From whatever is causing the mind to be like that, bring the mind back. In contemplation, I've shared with all of you, when the mind is distracted, our minds tend not to be reactive in contemplation because your eyes are closed. You're not eating anything. But the mind can still be distracted. Yes, this happened, that's going to happen. Don't be disappointed when you're distracted. We already talked about anirvinna cetasa. The mind is distracted. I'm conscious of this. I'm going to redirect the mind now. I'm going to redirect the mind now. Do you all know what a Buddha board is? Buddha board. Okay. It's this canvas, and you paint on it, but you paint on it with water. So imagine I had a cup of water and my brush and I'm painting a rainbow. And the rainbow is there, but what happens to water? It evaporates. And so that rainbow eventually dries up and goes away, and it's back to that canvas. A Buddha board is a reminder to the person who's using this that everything changes, that everything is going to dry up. I'm referencing this, that if we don't train our minds, all of the effort we're putting in for jnana yoga or dhyana yoga will dry up. It will go away. So yataha, there's a cause for my mind to be like this. Tataha, I accept my mind is like this. I'm going to adapt, as in I'm going to train my mind. And then watch how accepting the mind becomes of the intellect. This mind is to be brought back. Atmani eva vasham nayet. Vasham, directed. Nayet, towards. Atmani, in the spirit. Final thought. In our framework of 5 S's, tell me what the last S is. What's the last S in our framework? Space, seat, senses, sentiment, surrender. Very good. When our inner world is united, memory, mind, intellect, ego, we have to let it be. Let our inner world be exposed to that which is even more inner, which is the Atma. This cannot be forced. We have to let it be. One of Shri Krishna's names is Achyuta. You've all heard this before. Typically, Achyuta is defined as the one who never falls. But reflect on this. What is the implication of this for us? Achyuta, or Shri Krishna, never falls from us. Shri Krishna is always with us. Shri Krishna is always in us. Everything else, every article, circumstance, and being will fall from us. Do you agree? Remember the Buddha board. If you don't agree, reflect on that. But not Achyuta. He will not fall from us, will not fall from being in us. And so, when you're experiencing this quietness and stillness and silence of our whole inner world, remember, Shri Krishna will never fall from you. And since he won't fall from you, there's nothing to fear. Fear will hold us back from letting it be. Whenever we're afraid, we try to force. So I'm trying to express the sentiment of let it be. This is training in just being. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh. 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 Appreciate, relax, enjoy, chant. The untrained intellect, the intellect that is not ready for contemplation, instructs. This is expressed as desires, plans, and so on. The training for the intellect to become contemplative is to inquire. A enquiry is an outward-looking intellect to the mind, breath, body, beings, circumstances, articles. The trained contemplative intellect is inward looking. Hence, inquiry. A powerful and practical inquiry relates to who are you? To support this inquiry, another narrative is, who are you not? We use the language of my lifestyle. We use the language of my equipment. The automatic, the inherent implication of my is that it is not me. My phone, my job, my family are not me. My body, breath, mind, intellect are not me. These are all drishya. These are all seen. If there's drishya, then there is drik. If there is seen, then there is seer. Inquire into the seen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.